Welcome to iTalk, the programme on Euronews where you get to ask the questions to Europe's decision makers. My name is Alex Taylor and I'm here to make sure you get the answers. You've been sending in your questions this week for Janusz Lewandowski, the Commissioner for Financial Programming and Budget. Mr. Lewandowski, thank you for being with us. First of all, a very simple question. Which budget are you in charge of? How much is it? And who decides exactly where it gets spent?
I am in charge of the European budget, which is equal to some 140 billion euro, always in equilibrium in contrast to the deficits we have now at the national level.
And this money comes from our taxes?
Of course, this is about taxpayers' money.
OK, well, let's find out exactly how you spend it. First of all, a question from Greece.
I'm Spiros. I'm originally from Greece. I live in the Netherlands right now, and I would like to ask the Commissioner, Greece is going to get a lot of money again as support. Who is going to control what happens with the money? Because Greeks don't trust the governments, the previous one, the current one, probably the future one. So can we have some Europeans come over to Greece and control our budget? What happens with the budget right now? That's my question.
A rare Greek who actually wants European intervention, is that likely?
No. This is a sovereign country, and this is about the democratic leaders to control their money, that is national budget.
But their problem is our problem.
Yeah, of course, that is now the danger of contagion. But of course, what is coming from Brussels is being audited by the international auditing standards, and we know that in the past there was something wrong with statistics coming from Greece, so Eurostat, and we are really drawing the lesson.
But we're all going to lose our financial sovereignty in the euro, aren't we? Because we're all interlinked together. It was an illusion.
That is very Anglo-Saxon point of view. That is voluntarily delegated part of sovereignty. This is voluntary, and this is for the benefit of those who enjoy traffic with one currency and without transaction costs and transaction risk in Europe.
OK, let's have another question from a Dutch viewer.
My name is Ed Kloet, I'm from the Netherlands, and what we would like to ask to the Commissioner is to emphasize and to make more budgets available for NGOs on national level to be able to work together through the European Union.
Are you in a position at the moment to make more money available?
Well, I have to say, after touring Europe, that the position of the major stakeholders, that is of the governments, national governments, was rather conservative. They are not going for revolution, although we are suggesting revolutionary changes in the revenue side. But of course, what is potentially of interest for the NGOs, that is innovation, research, migration flows, that is growing. We managed to grow in the next financial perspective, despite the constraints. Of course, we have to respect also.
Even in this economic climate, for non-governmental
our old continent is no longer the new, brave, optimistic world. Europe is no longer optimistic. The motive is rather Eurosceptic. We have to take it into account. But on the other hand, nobody can deny that under the Lisbon Treaty, there is more Europe under the Lisbon. There is more of responsibilities, and perhaps challenges like euro, like immigration, cannot be solved at the national level.
OK, let's have a question from a compatriot of yours.
Mam na imię Agnieszka, a pytanie do pana...
My name is Agnieszka, and I'm from Poland. What can we expect from Poland's presidency of the EU?
Naszej prezydencji w Unii Europejskiej.
This was the question on the Polish presidency. Of course, we have formal priorities. Poland has formal priorities for the 2011. But I think what is beyond the formal priorities of
what are they, just quickly?
Well, that is security, that is jobs and growth, that is about solidarity in Europe, that is about better border control at the external borders, that is in reply to attempts to question Schengen agreement now in Europe. But I would say beyond that is to regain some optimism, because Warsaw, Poland, is now the optimistic part of Europe. And I would say that the unofficial mission of Poland is to regain some confidence.
You get the impression that the new member states were quickly disappointed because they had so many illusions. Is that not the case?
No. Of course, I was one of those behind the Iron Curtain, and for me, this is a fantastic project to have the institutions of 27 countries without losing identity. French are no less French after 50 years of integration. Dutch are not less
Probably
Dutch.
A little bit more so even sometimes the French.
The identity is being preserved and still we are cooperating. This is the most fantastic historical lesson we can draw from the past of the European continent.
Okay, let's have a question now from Sweden.
Hi, my name is Björn and I'm from Sweden. I have a question, and that's about will the European Union dissolve in a couple of years because of economical problems?
It does start to look like that. I mean, everything's falling apart, isn't it? I mean, you can see why people think that. Italy's the latest one to go. Everything's falling out of the euro.
This is also my feeling that Europe is less optimistic. And there are fears which were not present on the continent after the Second World War. But our job is not to speculate about the future. That is left to the financial market.
But there's a lack of leadership, isn't there? We haven't got the great European leaders or the visionaries we had in history.
We have a history. United Europe is really the lesson from the history of the European continent. This is the continent of the two world wars exported to the other continents, of ideologies like communism and Nazism, also exported to the other continents. And this is the only continent to draw a lesson from its history. And that is to be preserved. Each generation has to regain confidence and to rediscover the value of the European project.
Okay, let's have a question from another new accession member, Romania.
Bonjour, je suis Margareta. Je viens de la Roumanie.
Hello, I'm Margareta from Romania. In the future, will the EU have a higher budget than this year and previous years?
déjà reçu cette année ou les années antérieures. Je vous remercie.
The question is not if you want one, but if you think it's likely in the current circumstances that you'll get a bigger budget. Very unlikely.
Unlikely. We need to build more Europe with more or less the same money. That is our puzzle to be solved in the Commission and in the negotiations. However, without budgetary lines, the policies, a budget could be defined as the policy in figures. Without budgetary lines, policy promises could be seen as an empty declarations, really. So we need to upgrade the budget, although this is only 2% of the overall government's expenditure in the European Union.
But no country has ever told you they want to give more. How do you persuade them to give more money?
Therefore, we are not asking for more. We are stabilizing. As for the future, we are taking 2013 level and only inflationary adjustment, multiply by 7 and only inflationary adjustment. That is the concept of our new financial perspective 2014-2020.
Okay, let's have one final question from Sweden again.
So, hello, my name is Puff Östling. I'm from Sweden and I'm a teacher. And in Sweden, students are not allowed to pay anything extra in school. So it's very difficult for us to make exchange trips to other countries. How do we get extra money for that? How can we get money from the EU in a simple way?
Education.
Clearly, this is a national problem because I see the Erasmus, that is the program financing mobility of students, as a very successful value added of Europe. So if there are constraints at the national level, we cannot solve these constraints out of Brussels. This is clearly the Swedish problem. But generally, all sorts of mobilities financed via the European budget, I think this is clearly in conformity, conducive to more mutual understanding among the nations of Europe.
Commissioner Lewandowski, thank you very much indeed. That was iTalk. If you want to know who will be our next guests and ask your questions, you can go to our site on euronews.net/i-talk. See you next time from the European Parliament here in Brussels.